Hi everybody, this is Oksana and today I'm going to show you how to make this cute little jewelry set here. I'm mostly focusing on the earrings in this video because the pendant is just another earring that has a jump ring attached to it. So I think that it's a really cute set and it's really simple to make. It uses round wire and beads and it looks just like really nice and professional considering how simple of a design it is. So it's very beginner friendly and it'll make a great gift, I think. So if you want to see how to make this, just keep watching. And I just quickly want to say before we get started that if you're not already subscribed, I hope you will consider subscribing to my channel and hitting that notification bell to be notified of when I make new videos, which is every weekend. Alright, so let's make this jewelry set. For my wire, I'm going to be using some 20 gauge round copper wire, and I purchased this big spool from realgrande.com. It's just dead soft, solid copper, but you can use other metals if you prefer, or you can use craft wire from the craft store. It's usually copper that's coated. It's enameled to be different colors. So you just need 2 pieces of the wire, and they are about 9 inches or about 23 centimeters. And then the other materials that you're going to need are 2 round beads. Mine look like this. They are a howlite that has been dyed blue, so it's meant to look kind of like turquoise, but it's not real turquoise, it's fake turquoise. So it's 10 millimeter round beads. Yours don't have to be exactly this size, they can be a little bigger. That's totally fine, it'll still work. And then you just need some seed beads. So these are the seed beads that I have. I've had them for a really long time. I think I got them back when I was still living in the United States, and they are called 11-0 glass seed beads. So I don't know if maybe that's like a size. And the one thing about them, I just chose them because I like the color of them and I think it goes well with the turquoise. But the one thing about them is you want them to fit onto your wire. And so with these, it's like 50-50. I'll try a bead, it won't go on. I'll try another one, it'll slide right on. You only need 8 total, so 4 for each earring. Or I guess it could be slightly more depending if your earring turns out to be maybe like slightly bigger. But you just have to find some of these that will slide onto your wire, or just any kind of small beads that you might have that will fit onto your wire. They don't have to be seed beads, they can be gemstone beads if you prefer, or they can be metal beads, like you can use copper beads. It's really up to you, but some kind of small beads. So what you're going to do is you're just going to take your little round bead and just slide it onto your wire. And the easiest thing to do is just let it kind of come here down to the middle of the wire. And then you're going to bend the wires up. Just bend both of them up like this. And a nice thing that will help it look a little bit neater is if you take your pliers, let me zoom in here, because when you just bend the wires naturally upwards, they're not that close to the bead, to the stone, so I'm gonna push them together with the pliers. But you have to be really careful doing this, because if you push hard, you are gonna crack your bead. So either don't do this at all if you're nervous, or if your beads are, you know, precious and you don't want to risk them, or just if you're going to try doing it, go just a little bit and just apply very light pressure and be really gentle about it. But by doing that, it makes the bend, see how it's just so much closer to the bead now, there isn't that gap anymore. So what I'm going to do now, these are going to be mirrored because they're earrings. So I want one to be kind of the opposite of the other. So this is going to be my first earring. So because we want these to be mirrored, we're going to have, for one of them, the rightmost wire here, see how it's in the front? It's going to be crossing over in the front, and then the next one we do, we're going to want the left wire crossing over in the front here, so that they will be kind of opposites of each other. So we're going to take this right wire that's here in the front, and we are going to push it down. Again, if you want, you can use your pliers, but be really careful with it. See how there's like a little bit of a gap there, to try and push that wire up against the stone with no gap. And then we're just going to wrap around the bead all the way around, and when you get to here where the wire is coming out of the hole, don't go to the back, go in front of it, so you're going to essentially kind of cover up that area. So see how my wire is going in front, so it's covering this up like this. So we want this little triangular space that forms above the bead. Just want it to be not ridiculously tiny, so I just kind of loosened mine up a little bit here by just pulling up on it, trying to make it a little bit larger, because in this space I'm going to have the seed beads, and I want there to be an adequate amount of space for the seed beads. So it could be easier now, before we finish off the earring, to make the other one. That way you can try to get them to match perfectly before finishing them off, like in how tall they are and things like that. Also notice that this right wire that was in the front, after we did this, it still remains in the front. So with our other bead, we're going to slide it on, and this time we're going to have the left wire be in the front. So again, I'm just crisscrossing them. I'm going to try to push these very, very carefully closer together. All right, so now the left wire is in the front, and it is going to go around the bead. And then as you continue to bring it around, it's going to go here on the front to cover up that area where the wire is coming out of the bead. And it's just going up, staying in the front, in front of that other wire, and creating this triangular kind of space here at the top. So now, if I take my other earring, and I look, the space here is bigger. So I'm just gonna kind of work on bending it a little bit, and then we'll compare again. All right, now that's looking much better. Now they're looking almost exactly the same, but just mirrored copies of each other. So for this one, the right wire is going here in the front, and for this one, the left wire is going around and staying here in the front. All right, so those look like a good match. So we're going to continue with this one that has the right wire on it. And what we're going to do is we are going to take the left wire here that's in the back, and we are going to bend it to the front, kind of like this. And we want it to be a nice tight bend, so it's kind of gripping that other wire there. So we're just going to squish it a little bit with our pliers to get it to be that nice tight kind of bend. like this, and this wire, what we can do is if we just take our pliers and we just kind of grab it here like this, it'll make it go straight up like that. So here's what it looks like. And now we're just gonna, with our finger, try to form a little bit of a curve, a gentle curve in this wire. So it curves across that triangular gap there, like this. And now I'm going to try to find a few seed beads that fit onto this wire. Alright, so once you find some seed beads that fit, we're just going to see how many it takes to go into this little gap and to look good. So actually, I can do quite a few here, but they will kind of sit here on the bottom, so it's up to you what looks good. Like, I managed to fit 5 on here. I can put one more and make it 6, and that'll kind of slide that up, but I kind of like the way it looks with no beads up here. I kind of like this, so I'm going to leave it at that. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to bend this wire onto the back here, and here on the back I'm just going to trim the wire but leave a little end there. And then I'm just going to take that end with my pliers. I'm going to curve it kind of this way inwards. You can slide your little beads out of the way with your other hand. And then we're just going to close up that loop, and it's wrapping around this wire here. So here you can see it's wrapping around just that wire. Alright, so now I've connected it and I've made a little loop, and the little loop is closed around that wire there. Okay, so we can slide these back down, and here's what it looks like. Alright, so now we're going to finish off the top to make a connection for my earring hooks. So my earring hooks need a loop that goes kind of around this way, side to side. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to grab this like that, and I'm going to bend it this way. These are my round nose pliers. So here's what that looks like. And now I'm going to go back, and I'm just going to wrap it around with my round nose pliers, and I'm going to make just a little tiny loop like this. It just needs to be really small because it's just for your earring hooks. And then I'm going to grab that little loop that we've made with my pliers, and I'm going to use this wire just with my hand. I'm wrapping it all the way around until the wire is facing the back side here. So then here on the back, we are just going to trim off this wire here, and we're going to take our pliers to push down on that little wire end there so that it doesn't stick up and it's not pokey. So here is our first earring. So now moving on to the other earring. This is the left wire crossing over. So in this case, we're going to take the wire that's in the back, which is the right wire, and we are just going to bend it onto the front. And again, we're gonna squish here. Just wanna squish it nice and good so it's tight around this other wire, and then you can press on this wire to make it go straight up. And now it's time to shape that little curve. You can kind of look at the other earring that you created to make sure it matches. So now I'm going to go ahead and grab myself 5 little seed beads so that it's the same number as the other earring. Alright, so I found 5 seed beads that fit, so I'm just going to slide them up. And then I'm going to come here to the back and just bend this wire. This is the back, sorry. Now I'm on the back before I was on the front. And I'm just gonna trim, but leave myself a little wire end. So it's like a little loop that's gonna be closed up. So I'm just gonna get in there with my pliers and close up that little loop. And that's it. And now we're gonna make a loop up here for the earring hook to go on. So I'm just gonna do the opposite of what we did on the other earring. So I'm gonna grab this with my round nose pliers and I'm gonna bend it to the left this time, like this. Then I'm gonna come back in here and I'm just going to make a tiny little loop, keeping the wire in the front so it's coming back around the front. And once you've made a tiny little loop, you just hold it with your pliers and then you take this wire and you wrap it around all the way around and then bring it to the back and it'll look like this. And here on the back we're just gonna trim it off, and now we're just gonna press down on that little wire end with our regular pliers to flatten that little wire end so it's not sticking out and it's not pokey. And now I'm just going to press down on this little loop here, trying to make everything look nice and straight and have the loop kind of facing us. See how it's kind of going a little bit off to the left there, so trying to straighten that out. And you can take your other earring and see if they are still a good match. So the loop on this one ended up being a little bit smaller, so I'm gonna see if I can just kind of squish this loop into a little oval so it looks similar. There we go. So they can either be like this or this, however you prefer, whichever one you want to be the right and whichever one you want to be the left. But all that's left to do is just to attach some earring hooks. So for my earring hooks, I just have stainless steel. I think it's easier just to use pre-made earring hooks because they're pretty affordable. Or you can make your own. In some of my other tutorials for earrings, I do make earring hooks out of the copper wire, but this time I'm just using stainless steel because a lot of people's ears do better with stainless steel compared to copper, like if you have sensitive ears. So I'm just gonna slide my earring on, close up that loop. Here's earring number 1, and this same thing with the other earring. Just make sure it's facing the front here. And close up that little loop. These are pretty hard to bend because stainless steel is pretty solid. There we go. So now our earrings are complete, and an optional thing that you can do is you can make a matching little pendant. So I made one here. All you do is you make an earring, and then you just need a little loop at the top like this, a little jump ring, so that your necklace can go through there, and it could be a pendant instead of an earring. So to make a jump ring, I did make this with 18 gauge round wire, so it'd be a little thicker and stronger, but you can definitely make it with 20 gauge round wire, so you don't have to have a different type of wire. If you hammer it, hammering the wire makes it stronger. So you just take your wire and you take some bail making pliers, or if you don't have bail making pliers, you can use your round nose pliers, just the thickest part of them, or you can just use something round like a little pen or a pencil. And what you do is first we're just going to cut off this end here. Like that. And it's important because the way that these wire cutters cut is this flat side cuts the wire flat. So now we have a flat edge right there. And now we're going to cut right here. Again, this way. See, this end ended up kind of squished, pointy, but then this is flat. So that's why we cut twice like that, to make it have flat edges, because if it has flat edges, then it'll come together nicely as a jump ring and has just a nice area here. There isn't like a gap, it just perfectly comes together like that. And what you want to do is just hammer it for strength, or optionally you can just use a jump ring if you already have some jump rings that are maybe made out of like a harder, like a half hard wire. That way you don't have to hammer it, and then you would just attach it instead of the earring hook, and you would have yourself a pendant. And here you have the whole little set, the necklace and the earrings, and I think it looks super cute. So I hope that you enjoyed this tutorial. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.